We are live again with Mercedes-AMG Petronas Motorsport, and I'm joined in the Digital Garage by three-time Formula One World Champion Lewis Hamilton. Hello, welcome back to the Digital Garage. Thanks for helping us unveil earlier with our 360. That added a cool element, didn't it, to the launch?
I think so, yeah. Usually they're kind of bland and boring events, but it's neat because I think people at work can, see it live. And I think the 360 thing was great.
Yeah, we took it to another dimension, I think so. It's been a busy day. You've been out on track already, but the launch is always busy for you, isn't it? Give us a little taster of what you've been up to.
Yeah, the launches, it's always busy days. Like yesterday, we're doing photo shoots for all the imagery you see through the year is from that long photo shoot we did yesterday. And all the merchandise shoots. Today it's lots of filming. Obviously, so we did a bit on the track. We just did a big press conference, tons of interviews. I mean, when you're doing a press conference, it's one thing, but then you go and do the line of cameras. It's like being on the red carpet, but less glamorous, basically.
We're here at Silverstone in the cold and the wet.
Exactly. So, and then just talking, having the same question, but having to answer it in a slightly different way, basically. And then still more photo shoots today. What else is there?
You have been out in the car.
Huh?
You've been out in the car?
Yeah, no, I've been in the car, which is the best part of the day. But then all the other stuff comes in the filming part. It's less exciting, but it's busy. And honestly, I don't look at my schedule. I just we've got some great crew.
Making sure you're in the right place.
Rosa, I just follow her. Nicola, they basically tell me where to go, and I go.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about the car then, and I'm sure you've been asked countless times already. We've got pictures all behind us on this interactive, amazing wall in our Digital Garage of the car. How different does it feel to last year? Because we know the changes, we've spoken about the rule and regulation changes, but what does it actually feel like now to drive it compared to last year?
Well, honestly, this is a day where we just it's a rundown. It's basically a check-off list. So they're ticking off lots of different things. Does this work? Does the car work? Do the wheels stay on? All these different things. We did a pit stop, for example. Do the guns work? Am I comfortable in the car? Does my seat work? And this is one of those days where you just do all those things and sign it off. Next week's when we really get to unleash it. From the little bit that I drove it, it felt very much the same as last year in a sense of, and that's what we wanted. Seat position, steering wheel's the same, controls.
A bit more power though. Were you able to lay down a bit more power when you were able to on the straights?
We have all these different switch positions, and we're in the lowest one because we're not out here for any performance. So couldn't feel any. It was in the lowest power mode. And it didn't feel any different to our lowest power mode before.
Is that a bit frustrating for you? Because obviously you want to get in, you're back to work, you want to get back to business.
No, because it's a good day to get confidence in the car. If we went straight to the test and found out the brakes didn't work, or there was a failure in something, it can be painful. So it's a good way to not brush off cobwebs. Well, but brush off cobwebs for me because I've not been in the car for ages, and really do the walking. Because next week we just have to go straight into running.
Absolutely. I know you like to look good as a person outside racing. How important is it to look good, though, in the car? Because the car's got a bit of a new livery, a bit of a different colour scheme with the blue coming in there. Nice to look fresh for the new season?
I think it doesn't matter what you're doing or where you are or how it is. It's always good to have good-looking things and look good in it. So that's why sometimes I'm fascinated. There are some teams that have terrible clothing, or they have... the car just doesn't. The design of the car looks terrible. The paint job looks terrible. When you're a multi-billion-dollar million dollar company, you can't get a paint job right.
You want to look slick. You want to look on point.
Look at our garage. If you go to the Grand Prix, we have the best garage. We have this interactive screen, which no other team has. You go to, and some others just are less have used less creative minds to design the spaces there. But they've done an amazing job with the car this year. It's constantly getting cooler as the days go.
It is getting cooler. We have got lots of questions coming in from the fans on Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube. Our first one comes from Alb UK Official. Thank you very much for getting in touch. The first question is, what are your plans and aims this season? And obviously it's difficult when it's so early on, but I assume you want to win? Is that
yeah, it's quite an easy answer. I definitely don't want to finish second. So every year you don't necessarily set yourself different goals. They're generally the same as the previous year, but you add some more to the list that you might have. Yeah, right now all us drivers want to win, but it doesn't mean we're going to have the cars to be able to do that, or some people may not have the ability to do so, or it's the opportunity. So we'll find out whether I have the car next week, whether it is a reliable, fast car to be able to exploit what I have inside me, and vice versa. So, and my goal is I'm looking for that fourth world championship, which seems far away, but you know, time will tell.
It could just be a matter of months away, Lewis.
Well,
you
we'll
never
see.
know.
We'll see.
We've got another question in from Mon_the_Gers. Maybe Gers. I'm not sure. Thank you very much for your question, nonetheless. I was going to ask you at the beginning, is it weird not having Nico here as a side topic? And we'll get on to Mon the Gers' question now. But is it weird having been teammates for so long?
Honestly, it's not. It was, I think over the last couple of months, thinking it's going to be weird not having Nico in the team this year, but you move on. There's someone else that's taken his place. There's lots of people that would want to take his place and my place, and that's the way life is. And we'll work very hard. It doesn't change what I've got to do. It doesn't change anything in my life, to be honest. I've still got to try and go out being the best. There's a championship there for the taking, and I want to be the one that grabs it.
It's interesting because Mon the Gers has asked, you know, how do you feel about Nico retiring and not having that opportunity to fight back and maybe set some sort of things straight, as it were, this year without him being here?
I don't feel any way about it. There's a championship this year. Most of the drivers are still there, and I don't have to go and prove anything. I mean, I won more races last year than my team. I mean, I've won a couple of championships alongside him, so I don't feel it makes any difference that he's either there or not, in the sense of having to get it back from him. You know, it's there for the taking again, and I'm going to be up against another great driver this year, which is Valtteri, and the Ferrari is hopefully going to be there. The Red Bulls are going to be there. So.
Well, that brings me on actually to another question from Raul VH23. Thank you, Raul. What team do you think will be your hardest opponent? You mentioned there Red Bull and Ferrari. Do you think they are the two? But we've seen, you know, Renault launching this week, sounding very strong, saying that they've managed to find 35 horsepower, 0.3 of a second out on the track. Do you think they could be in the mix as well? And Force India, of course, as well.
I wish them all the best, and I hope that it's the best year that they've ever had. You know, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I know everyone in all the teams work so hard to create these great cars, and all the drivers will be training very hard to be at their best. So, of course, you always, when you see the qualifying grid and you see sometimes such big gaps for some teams, you always hope that the next year is going to be a better year for them. So, Force India have been doing a fantastic job with their relationship with Mercedes, and I think they'll part working with McLaren at one stage. So I think they've come a long, long way. Sauber have had some difficult years. I hope it's a better year for them. Their car looks better. That's already a step. Just in the livery, it looks cool.
Yes, yeah, you're right, absolutely.
You know, the one before was terrible. So that's a good step already. So, you know, everyone's going to be stepping forwards and hoping.
Absolutely.
I hope it's closer in the pack.
Well, closer out on track. That then brings us to the topic of overtaking. And Dan on Twitter, thank you for your question, has asked if you think it's going to be more difficult. There's been lots of speculation, and originally people were thinking it was going to be harder. Some people have now stepped forward saying it might be easier even. What's your take on it?
Well, most likely, most people's opinion is just it'll be a guess, because you don't have the facts just yet. None of us really have the facts. When we get out on track, we'll have the hard facts, whether the car is better, has more turbulence. But the engineers say the car is wider, tires are bigger, we have a lot more downforce. It's like, can I compare it? It's like taking a small propeller plane and compare it to a Boeing 737. You know, it's got so much more performance on it, and out the back is just a lot more powerful, dirty air. So they say that the smartest guys in my team say it's going to be worse. I believe them.
So you want to be at the front, basically?
You always want to be at the front anyways, but yeah. And you know, the tires were supposed to, the whole goal is to have more mechanical grip, but I don't believe necessarily going to have much more, if any, because the car's wider, have more drag. It equals out the advantage potentially that you get, maybe, who knows.
Dan on Twitter wants to know what you think about the competition from Max Verstappen this year. He showed a lot of promise last year. Are you envisaging a bit of a tight battle with him up front?
I hope so. Yeah, I think Max did we all know Max did a fantastic job. He's obviously a great talent, and he's young, still got lots to grow in himself, and will continue to get better. So I definitely look forward to racing with him. I'm always down for the challenge.
Well, he is a young driver, obviously, and not to put too fine a point on it, you're one of the older drivers now on the grid.
Thank you. Thanks.
But still looking fresh. So, yeah, a decade in, Kimmy on Twitter wants to know what have been the main challenges? His name is Kimmy.
Oh, it's not...
Kingy.
Kingy,
Sorry,
Kingy.
Kingy.
That's the same.
What have been the main challenges over the decade that you've been in Formula One?
Jesus, it is a decade, isn't it? Making me feel old, damn it.
Well, sorry, you are.
Am I older than you?
Yes, you are.
Damn it.
That was a close one.
There's been so many challenges, and I think there's been lots of lessons learned, lots of things lost. But I think ultimately it's just really been about trying to make sure you're always stepping forwards, not dwelling on things, enjoying life. You know, you see on the news every day stuff that's going on. It's really, it's easy to take for granted what we all have, and no matter where you are in life, how old you are. And I think definitely as I'm getting older and appreciating more of what I have, where I've come from, the time that I have.
You seem a lot more comfortable in yourself. I think if you look back over the last decade, perhaps you weren't able to express yourself in the early days. And now it seems like, you know, everything from your look, from your style, from your interests outside of racing, you seem to have kind of discovered who you are. Would that be right?
What I feel like is I feel as definitely a late bloomer, is that right? A super late bloomer. I think that's, you know, you see young people today, and a lot of young people today are allowed to be their creative selves and let it grow. And when I was young, that was not allowed. Yeah. Be it at school, teachers not allowing you to be who you wanted to be, to let you prosper and grow. People around me, and being in the sport that I was as well was very restricting. So, yeah, and I think it wasn't until finally I got, you know, it's really been like the last 5 years, and now to kind of grow into who I wanted, you know, naturally where I want to go and be. And I'm glad I'm finally here. Has been, if I had done it when I was 22, it would be so cool. But you know, it is the way it is.
Look how crazy you'd be now.
You know what I mean? But you know, that's to each his own. And you know, I'm happy where I am. Happy with the amazing support I get from these fans. And this year, I want to constantly, every year, I want to try and figure out new ways of engaging with them. And just the other day, I went to an arcade in London and met one of the fans who had a tattoo. I don't know if he'll be watching, but he had a tattoo of my logo, which was so cool to see. You know, Team LH, just they find you wherever you are. And I always say we win and we lose together, because I know these guys are with me. Right now, they're sending positivity, and they want to get that fourth title just as much as I do. So I want them to know that I'm working hard for it.
Well, let's talk about your fans, because you launched an incredible competition just at the beginning of the month to design your helmet, and that has now been decided. Now, that is an incredible power to give to your fans, and that whole relationship really is kind of demonstrated by that. Talk us through the helmet and why you chose it.
So I designed my helmet with my dad years ago. Actually, my dad designed it. I chose the colors. It was yellow, blue, red, and green. And if you look at like Ayrton, he had the same design till the day he died. And he's known for that helmet. Everyone today can see that helmet and say, that's Ayrton's. We live in a different age where now it's, I mean, tell me what Vettel's helmet is. You can't, he's had so many helmets, it'll be hard when he stops racing to be able to say, that's Vettel's helmet, you know, and it's a lot with a lot of us drivers. And so my dad was always very keen for me to keep the same design. But naturally, as we've grown, it's evolving, it's changing. But what I really wanted to try and do is I wanted to give it to the fans, because there's only so much creativity you have, and there's so much great talent out there. So I reached out to give the opportunity to someone else to do it. Plus, I was like, whoever wins can come to an event or one of the races, get one of the helmets, and really feel a part of it. And there is one point during the year, actually, which people won't know, but there is a point during it. I mean, it's a silly rule that you can't change your own helmet design during the year, but there is a rule that you can change it once. So I'm going to push to see if they'll change that rule and allow it maybe a couple times, you know. And then there's so many designs in the range that was set.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Maybe
22s out of about 8,000 entries.
Yes, maybe I can pick another one out of that to use for one of the either the one-offs during the year or something. But I was just blown away to see how much creativity there was out there. And naturally, there was helmets that were completely different to what my helmet's been in the past. And I chose one that was similar to what I've had, but an evolution of that.
Well, I look forward to seeing it out on the track. Let's talk a bit more about the car again, because today is the start of really a beautiful relationship, isn't it, for you in the car? Just talk about that emotion of getting into the car first.
Well, honestly, it's been the same since I've been racing. I remember my first time driving the Formula 1 car was here, 2006. And sitting in the garage with all these people around you, and seeing how they all orchestrate, how they all move, take the tires off and put the tires on, put the car down, and you're like, I'm in this car, I do not want to crash it firstly.
That would have been awful for our
you know how much work's gone into it. The feeling is the same than when I first drove the Formula 1 car in 2000. The sound was way better in 2006. It was a V10.
You've been very vocal about that.
Yeah, it was a V10, and going down like hanger straight, oh my God, it was screaming. 21,000 RPM. It was the coolest thing ever. So now that's not part of love, and you know that already. But to go up, to be still one of the only 20 people that are driving Formula 1 car, to be able to go out and drive the beast out there, I'm like a kid in a candy store, man.
Absolutely.
You know,
is it quite weird sitting in something that essentially is the physical kind of embodiment of all your hopes and dreams in a way, that it could take you to that fourth title? Like, how do you kind of relate that to sitting in the car thinking everything could come down to you in this car? It's all to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, naturally you create a bond with your car, and you know, you become to rely on it, and you feel like it relies on you, you know, and you're going to put your faith in that car, and that car represents the whole team. And you have to have 100% undeniable faith and confidence in it. You know, there's been years where I've had that and we've not had the car and to win, but you still go through a journey with it, where you're battling for the back, or you're in the middle of the pack, and you have ups, you have blows, you have all sorts, but you eventually get a win. I've been very, very fortunate. I've won a Grand Prix every single season of my career.
Yeah, that's always a boost, I can imagine.
It is amazing, you know. So yeah, and I'm still with Mercedes, and I think Mercedes are in the greatest period in history, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
Well, I wonder where that first win will be this season. Will it be Melbourne?
That's a big question. You know, Red Bull look like, well, you don't know what Red Bull looks like. I can't wait to see what their car looks like compared to ours.
Well, one thing's for certain, I think they're all going to be wanting to beat you off the line. A final question from Michael. You've got so many more cons on your steering wheel and in the car. If you had a CD player, or maybe a sort of MD player, or an iPod, or something, what would you have playing in the car as you went around the track this morning? What would you have chosen?
I can play you it, actually. I don't know. Let me find. I have to play us.
I don't know if we've got the rights. I'm nervous. Could you hum it?
You need rights. It's social media.
Well,
You need rights to play a song.
Is it one of yours, Lewis?
No, it's not one of mine.
Actually,
I've got no internet to be able to bleed and play it.
Well, give us a name and we can tell people to go and find it.
That's why I need to play it, because I don't remember the name. Oh, shoot. Here, I'm going to play you something. But I don't know. The internet's not working, so.
It's not working. No. Don't worry. Why don't you post that later?
No. I think I play anything, you know. I think it really depends what day it is, you know.
Okay.
I mean, on some race weekends, I'm listening to Prince. Some weekends, I'm listening to old stuff like blues. Sometimes I've listened to Pavarotti on a race weekend and listen to Nothing Donna.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the time I'm listening to mostly I'm listening to hip hop. That was just maybe a one-off.
The best of everything, I guess.
Yeah, like right now, one of my favorite songs is Beyonce's new song with Jay. We did it with DJ Khaled. But yeah, I'm actually I keep asking my engineers whether I can get one of my earpieces connected to music, because
I'm sure Bono would love that.
You know, because when you're practicing, it's very repetitive, and you're driving round and round and round and round. Go out and do 20 laps. Come in. Go out during 20 laps. Come in. Okay. And you are occupied, but it would be kind of neat to
have one ear
set my phone on me and.
You've got Bono here, and you've got.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're doing the test, those 20 laps, you do have time to think of other things. You're like, what am I going to do next week?
What am I going to have?
When you're going down the straight, you're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat tonight?
Yeah. I love that. There we go. That can be
you don't have long to think about it, but
for next year.
So yeah, you could
one
be
headphone for music.
Yeah.
Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us in the Digital Garage.
Pleasure.
We've been live on Facebook, YouTube, and across the team's social media sites. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be back with two of the biggest brains in Formula One, Aldo Costa and Andy Cowell. They'll be here in the Digital Garage to talk us through how they've designed this year's car. A little bit later on, join us for that. Thank you.
No mistake.